This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for recording this so that if we need to make reference to any of the documentation you provide, then we can just quickly reference it.
Yeah, I think, you know what, it's going to be, as I said, the important thing was to have Belinda on the call because she'll be a good support. I wanted, and Belinda, we'll try the same sort of approach as we did with, oh no, you were off, with Patty Galbraith. I did that with Iona. But I'm gonna show you a couple of different things, Dimitri, and you know, unfortunately, to do a complete and thorough review, it's going to be a combination of three things. So I'll try and show you the three things, and Belinda will be there to help you, or the recording, to make this work. So let me switch. I went back to culinary, and it's hard to switch back and forth between things. I think, Belinda, just to get you caught up in case you haven't with Dimitri, Dimitri and I think we talked on Thursday, or I'd sent a note to Dimitri on Thursday. We touched base on Friday via email, and I had mentioned to him that I had done as many of the changes, content-wise, plan-wise, as I could. But then I had a number of questions for him. So Saturday morning, we went through those questions, and as far as I can tell, Dimitri, you know, based on our discussions, I've gotten everything done. And now it's time for Dimitri to do a sort of thorough final review, Belinda. And then I think Iona has lined up some folks at KPMG. So we want to be sure that everything is ready to go for that as well. So I think the best way, Dimitri, to do this, as I say, to do a thorough review, I'm going to start by showing you the admin backend that has the plan for your reference. That's really the only way you can see all of the elements of the plan that exist. The second is as a user, and you've done that, as you click through as a user, you've been through that, but you're only seeing parts of the plan that are being exposed to you based on your scenario and scores and progress in the plan. And then the third will be a combination of using, you can either use just the test drives or use a combination of the click through as a user and the test drives. But really, I don't know that there's any way that you can sort of thoroughly get through everything without sort of doing a combination of those three things. Does that make sense? I think Dimitri's on mute. Hopefully he's still there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was on mute. I just so that it doesn't cause feedback.
Okay. Let's jump into it. And as I say, I think again, if you run into any questions, you know, Belinda or I can help. Just shoot an email. So let's look at the admin side first. You've been used to looking, obviously, at the portal side, which is this, and the dashboard. So this is the portal. This will be the admin. And I believe that Dimitri has admin access, doesn't he, Belinda? If not, we'll have to obviously do this for him.
Let me check.
Yeah, maybe you can check while we're doing this. And Dimitri, I'm not sure if you're logged in, but the other way that you can tell is if you have, if you're in the portal, you should be able to also from here on the portal to the admin. So here's where you would find the admin side. You're going to see the prepare for work in Canada accounting tile. You should, or Belinda will give you access so that you see this admin tile. And if you're logged in, maybe you can just confirm for us whether you see that or not. And if not, Belinda will change your account now.
So I'm not logged in at the time right now. I'm more focused on listening and looking at what you're doing. So okay. I will assume I have access. If not, I will ask Also, just so that I will be, just so that there's no feedback, because I'm getting a little bit of feedback, I'm just going to mute myself, and then I'll text if I have any questions. Okay.
Okay. That I don't think that's from my end. I've just got my computer. Let me just double check. Yeah, no, I've just got my computer audio, so it should be fine. Unless, Belinda, you've got phone line and computer.
Yeah, I don't have iPhone at this time. I can unmute
Okay.
my.
Yeah, just make sure you've only got one or the other. Otherwise, we will get that feedback because you'll have two microphones and two speakers if you've got your computer. Yeah, and then hopefully, Dimitri, that's better if Belinda had both her laptop and phone. But jump back in whenever you need, Belinda. Okay. So the admin side. This is the admin panel, Dimitri. What you want to do is go to resources and go to plans. And here's the back end where you see all the plans. And what you'll want to do is go down to the Prepare for Work in Canada Accounting Assessment Model. That's plan 28819. And what you'll want to do is outline it. So this outline icon is right over here. And is this big enough, Dimitri? Just let me know if I need to make this bigger. Maybe I'll just pop it up once so you can see it
No,
better.
it's fine. I can see it.
No.
Okay, so go to outline. And the first thing you'll see then, and what I'll say right off the bat is don't change anything here because you're in the admin backend. So just stay with the view in the outline mode. Don't go to edit. Just stay with the view. And it's just a matter of you'll recognize all of the sections that you see in the portal. So, you know, you've got, let me just go to it here. Here's your start section. And in the admin section, here's your start section. You just expand and collapse to show things. And so what you can do is by expanding things, you'll get a sense of all of the lessons and all of the assets that are in the particular sections. Now, for the first, one thing I'll say is that for these first three sections, start, and I'm sorry, the first two sections, start and financial services, you will see everything in the portal that you're seeing in the admin backend. So just one caveat here is in looking at the admin backend, you can click through all of these lessons in the start and the financial services sector, and you'll get all of the content, etc. It's not until you actually get to the accounting careers section that you will not be starting to see a number of things depending on how you do. So the first thing is, so again, recall there's these three methods. You can look at things in the admin backend. You can look at through the second is you can look at things through the user portal and do a click through. And the third thing is you can do test drives. The first thing to say about these first two sections, start and financial services sector, is that you essentially can do this either way. And in fact, the user portal is probably the simplest way to do these two sections, Dimitri. You could go in here, you could look at this lesson and you could see the content in it. And I'll show you how to do that. But the reality is for these first two sections, it's easier to do that in the user portal. So we'll touch on that more. So my first recommendation will be to go through the start section and do a final review, and to go through this section, the financial services sector and essential skills, the workplace culture and workplace skills, and the communication, teamwork, and initiative. Do those two sections once again in the portal. So the second method, clicking through in the user portal, this will be your best way to do this. If you don't want to click through everything, one of the things you'll have available to you when you have admin access is if you just want to check on some things, you can, and you can do this. You can restart your program if you want to start from the beginning again, and you can enable all modules or enable all lessons. And I'll show you what that does. So here I've already run a test drive and completed various things. If I say restart my program, it takes me back to the very beginning. Nothing is completed. If I say enable all modules, these gray bars are modules. We can enable the modules so that there's things to do in each module. And really, again, you can only do the first two because by the third, it's dependent on how you answer things or how you progress with things as to what's being shown to you. And the last thing is you can enable all lessons. So in these first two sections, you can just have them all ready to go and you don't have to click through them. So if there's one you want to check in particular, you could just go back and do it this way. You could find it and you don't have to do the user click through. So the first two sections, again, use the second method, the user portal, but you might not need to do a click through. You can maybe just restart things. You can enable all the lessons. You can go to where you want to go within each of these two lessons. So that'll take you and allow you to do the full review of those two sections. And so again, if we've got the three methods of doing this, the admin side, the user click through, enable process the second, the test drive being the third, use method number 2 for these first two sections. Now, by the time you get to the third though, I'm going to jump back into the admin. So these two sections we've kind of dealt with. By the time you get here, there's going to be, and if you look at this in outline mode, now you start seeing that there's a lot of triggers and commands and various things that are happening here. And this is the behavior that's been set up for the plan to adopt based on how you're progressing through it. So for this section, I'm going to propose two things for you, Dimitri. When you get to here, and you will have had to have successfully completed these two parts to get there. When you get here, I'm going to suggest, and I think you've done this once already, you've clicked through it as a user. And you've completed it as a user. So there's two ways you can do that. You can go through as a user and do reasonably well on the exams. So that is to say, your accounting background, I'm sure is still very complete and fresh. So you could go through and get like 80, 90, 100% on the exams. And you can see the behavior and you will get the lessons that are served to you by doing that. If you then go through and review all of the lessons that appear based on that scenario, you can check things that way. So that would be, again, sort of method 2 there. The other way you could do this is you can go through and get 0%. You can get essentially everything wrong on every exam, and that will serve up essentially all of the lessons that are appearing here and being unlocked by questions that were gotten wrong. So for this third section, you can do a user click through after you've completed the first two sections. The first attempt you can do well in it, and I think you've probably done that already. You can then go back and do it a second time and do very poorly. Now, so we haven't talked yet about, we've sort of used method number 2. So again, the 3 methods are using the admin backend, number 2 using the user click through and enabling things and stepping through things, and the third being the test drive. The first method, the reason I'm suggesting you also look at the admin backend is because, for example, just with progress and reports, here's all of the reports that could be served up depending on how you do. And you won't see all of these unless you go through things like a million times. Even in the Finish module, you don't get, for example, this lesson here, register with Job Connect, unless you've successfully completed the junior or senior assessments. So what I'm saying to you is that the first method, if you will, for reviewing stuff isn't necessarily a way to find and review all the content, but it does give you an overall sense of everything that's in the plan and everything that's in the structure. You can just expand each section out and you'll get a sense of all of the lessons and all of the things that occur there. Now, the relationship between the admin backend and the portal, if you are over here and you're wanting to do and find this lesson, for example, and you need to refer one to the other, this last number is the asset number, 28875. And in the plan, where was that now? The relationship is in the section, where was that? Financial services sector and quick facts, that's under the financial services sector. Here it is over here in the admin side. And here's asset 28875. And I don't know if you'll want to do this. Belinda is probably the best person to do this, but if you want and you find anything that needs revision, Dimitri, always refer to the asset number. It'll be here, 28875, or it'll be here. Once you're in that lesson, let's say you find something you want changed, lesson 28875. What Belinda will do, or myself, it doesn't matter, we would come into this, we would edit the asset, we would go to the content, and here's all the content that is contained by this lesson. So the relationship between reviewing things in outline mode in the back end kind of just situates you and gives you the full context of everything that's in the plan, Dimitri. So it's kind of more actually a reference than a review method. Just expand everything out and you'll see all of the lessons that exist. The one example that we talked about on Saturday morning was, for example, this section, accounting careers. For you know, the way that I think you had stepped through, or Arsena had stepped through, not all 5 of these lessons had come up, and Arsena had suggested some revisions to this particular asset, but based on the fact that I don't think she had seen all these other ones. So the only way you can really see all these other ones is to get 0 on this diagnostic test. So again, these are adaptive learning plans, and to do a thorough and comprehensive assessment, it takes a lot of different sort of combinations of what you do. And now maybe we'll talk about the third method, which is the test drives. And again, you can use any combination of these methods, the admin backend, the clicking through, and the test drives. So let me show you the test drives now. I sent this document. This is all of the test drives. And you can easily get yourself to any point in the plan by just simply running a test drive. So test drive number 1, all you do is with your admin backend open, and with this asset right here, you can access this in 2 ways. Look for the little test drive symbol. And what you do is we want to test drive this accounting plan. So by clicking on that icon, you'll see a box like this. We would copy and paste the script from these test drives in, and then just hit execute. And what that'll do is now you can go, and I usually have 2 browser windows open when I do this, one for the admin side and one for the portal side. what that will do is it's going to, and just remember always to reset this window when you run the test drive. It's going to do exactly what I asked it to do. It's going to complete some lessons. It's going to complete an assessment based on the score I provided. So I asked for it to get 60% here. It got 67%, failed the exam, and we want to make sure that the behavior that the plan is doing, and again, this goes to your point, Dimitri, of you want to make sure that you can't sort of get somewhere that you shouldn't, or you can't get to an exam when you shouldn't. The test drives will do that for you. So this particular one just got me to the point where I did the financial services sector and accounting test. It does allow me, there's nothing that stops in the plan, it does allow me to continue. And so I could then use a combination of the test drive and just keep going and use a user click-through to check things, or I can run another test drive to get me to the next step. So for example, here, I've taken myself manually now after running a test drive to doing this online business culture exam. So I'll do this quickly.
Is that a timer on the top right-hand corner?
Yes, it is. So those have been added in as per Arsana's times.
Okay.
Yeah, she said to allow 30 minutes for this one. It's only 11 questions, but so I only got 4 right. And so again, you'll see now this, you've done this part before, Dimitri, but the test drives will get, let's say that you've done sections 1 and 2, and you're confident that that's all you need. Then you can skip ahead in the test drive document and find, or you can find a scenario here. The scenario will always be described and tell you what the system is going to respond to. And let's just say we're going to skip ahead to test drive number 6. In this one, the financial services sector and essential skills test was passed. The Canadian Workplace and Culture test was passed. The Communication Teamwork Initiative test was passed. And the meets expectations lesson should be served. So this one essentially takes you to the completion of those first 2 sections. So we can copy this. We can go to our browser window where we have the admin side open and we have our test drive, and let's just revisit how to get there. We can go to the Prepare for Work in Canada accounting plan. Even if we have it right here, Dimitri, we can run a test drive right from here. So the accounting plan, we'll copy and paste that in. And now we execute. I have a separate browser window open on the portal. If I now switch over, so this will run. I'll go back to the portal. I will reload my portal to make sure that the latest test drive I have written and executed will show here. And so now you see exactly that. I completed the start section. I can view all that. I completed this financial services sector, workplace skills and culture section. And the marks I got are all here. And I passed them all. And then I can check what happens next. Well, this was the thing that we discussed Saturday morning, Dimitri. Because I passed all this, I'm allowed now to continue into the accounting careers section and start doing those. My progress and reports populate. I've met expectations for this particular area, and I get to keep going. Now, the one thing I just wanted to point out too, you may notice that when I run a test drive and the number that I specify for the system to come up with, it may or may not be exact. So let me just show you an example of that. Fundamental Workplace Communication Teamwork Initiative. The system is showing me 85%, and oh yeah, that's what I asked for. But sometimes if I just say 60%, it's looking to get 6 out of 10 right. And if there's 11 questions, it keeps going until it gets that 60%. So you may not see an exact match between the number here that I've asked the system to do and what it actually got. So for example, I asked it to get 75%, it got 73%. So
quick question.
yeah, let me stop there.
Okay. Quick question. What happens if you
Yeah.
put you know, the information for the test drive in the wrong number?
If you put it in the wrong plan, it won't run.
Okay.
The first thing that shows up on these test drives is the plan number. So unless you're in 28819, it won't run. So you do want to make sure that you can do it either here, leave this open, and that window will just stay open as you run them. So again, 28819, the plan, which is the accounting assessment model, run a test drive either from here, or you can go to outline mode if you want to refer to things. This is how I often do it. I often leave it in outline mode so I can see where everything is and refer to it, particularly when I'm revising the test drives, Dimitri. And you can also access test drives from this modal icon. Here it is again. Takes you to the same place. So once again, these first two sections, you can just click through, or you can restart them and enable them all, and you can just reference the ones that you want to reference. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. So the user portal to review those two. By the time you get to the third, there's so many different things that happen, Dimitri. You're probably going to want to run and switch over to a combination of running test drives and completing it maybe manually in the portal, and also referring to this admin thing in case you need to find anything. And the reference number is always the asset number. If you remember what section you're in, for example, and something appears here, you say, oh, yeah, I'm not sure, you know, why did this show up? You know, what else does it do? Where is it at? You can always get your bearings here, expand and collapse. So for example, I think I'm right at this section right here now, and I was on this lesson, you know, 35156. I can see what it does and what should be happening next, and where it goes to next. Is that where I was? Accounting careers, yeah. And once again, the time limits that Arsena had suggested, she was going to get back to me with more, Dimitri. I'm not sure that I have all of them. When I went back to my notes, I found 3 of them, and I think she said she was going to do more. That's right. I did these 3 that she provided, and I extended the other ones, but she never did provide them.
Okay. Can you just make a reference of which one? Which ones you still need times on?
Okay.
Please.
The only 3 she gave me, I look back on my notes. I think it was in the March 15th note. Sorry, there are so many notes here. Oh, okay. The ones she gave me were in her March 4th note. And oh no, I think I did extend those. Ethics and Communications, Junior Financial, Senior Financial, I did extend those. I've got those checked off. She must have given me some other ones after that because I did those as well. So maybe they are all done. Maybe they are all done.
I remembered seeing an email referring to it, so I wasn't sure which ones there were left. But yeah, if you find any other ones that are left, just let me know, please. And
okay, maybe they are all done. Okay, so they should be. As I say, it's hard to get through all the notes. But that's essentially it. That will then allow you to, you know, to go through this, to try the exams manually. Once you've tried it manually, you maybe just want to go back through and do it with a test drive. But you see here, because the diagnostic test was done very low, all of the lessons that should come up are being served. And then we'd have to complete these before we can get on to the next step of things. So, you know, the other thing is, once you get to this section, Dimitri, the assessment logic, which I don't think we really ever did capture, typically we have diagrams of this, but as you might recall, it is basically, if you can't achieve 70% in this fundamental workplace skills and financial services and culture assessment section, you do not proceed to this section and the progress is halted. Once you get through this section and get here, if you don't get, I think these are all 65%, this one allows you to continue, but the junior financial, you cannot move forward unless you get 65% or above in this section to proceed to the senior financial technical competencies and tests. So
Right.
that's the logic. You can complete START, you can complete this. If you don't complete this satisfactorily, you don't move on to this. You can complete accounting careers. If you don't complete junior accounting to 65% or above, you don't move forward to senior accounting. That's the assessment logic within the plan. Your progress and reports will always then, as you complete each section, display what has been completed and whether it's below expectations, needs improvement, or meets expectations. The finish, nothing will appear here until you reach a terminal level, whether that's you know, doing poorly at this level or achieving junior but not senior. And I think you probably have seen this already, but this one lesson does keep all of your sort of reports and competencies that you've satisfied to date all in here as well. So all of the reports are here. Generally, we open a new window, so watch for these. This is where your plan is. You mentioned those sometimes you couldn't navigate back. Generally, a report or a reference to an external piece of content like the Wiley book will always open in a new window. So of course there's no back. It's a new window that's open. So you can close that off and then access another. Again, these generally will open as a report in a new window and give you your competencies. Continue takes you back to your portal dashboard. You can navigate, if you haven't found this already, from one lesson to the next in the same module by just going next or back. You want to check on anything, but quite frankly, the easiest way to navigate is to have these things all completed as a test drive will do, and then just be able to go to it. Once it's completed, you can navigate back to it at any time. Continue takes you back to the dashboard. So let me stop there again, Dimitri. That's that kind of combination of the three things: the admin backend, the moving through, if you will, sort of manually in the user portal by clicking things, and running test drives. It kind of takes a combination of all three of those to get through it all.
Agreed. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay. And then Belinda does this all the time. So if you have a quick question, and Belinda, I'm sorry, I should have asked you as well. Anything more that you would suggest? You also review these plans and run test drives all the time. But Dimitri, the challenge that Dimitri and Arsena had, of course, is that they weren't seeing all the things in the plan that they needed to review, I think. So that's why I've sort of come up with this sort of three method approach. But your thoughts, Belinda, is there some other ways you would suggest?
I think, yeah, you already covered everything. Just one more thing I want to mention. So when they do the text drive, Lawrence, can you go back to the resource and plan? Can you go back? Because
Yeah, sorry, where?
there are different way to get to the test drive, right? So what can you go back another back, like maybe
Yeah.
resort? Can you go to resource? Plan 18. So when you do the text drive from this page, you can see there are 3 buttons in after
Yes,
each plan. So really be careful, because beside the text drive is the delete button.
yes.
So the text drive is in the middle. So if you go this way to check on text drive, really be careful. I don't want to. We already upload
No.
all the work. I don't want we delete something by accident.
Okay, and to that point, is there a backup so that if something like that were to happen, that you'd be able to retrieve it?
I think so. I think Sandbox and Dev will have the plans. I think Dan has just updated those, but I think they have daily backups as well. But that's a good point. You know, when you're in outline mode, don't sort of edit anything. Always just view it. So stay in view mode, and probably best not to click on things here, but rather to look at them in the portal, get the number of the asset that you think needs to be changed, and write down what the last change might be. And as Belinda said, you know, perhaps it's even better just to run the test drive from here. Is this any better, Belinda? Yeah, the delete button is not right next to it, at least. But run a test drive from here. And you'll know, I mean, if there's a delete, obviously it's going to ask you if you want to confirm your delete, and it tells you the impact of the deletion. So you'll know, Dimitri, but perhaps it's better to run it and more safe to run it this way. And obviously you'll come up with the test drive page, and you can copy and paste your stuff in here. So yeah, that is one thing to be careful with your admin access.
Okay, just because I don't want to go back and forth on every single change. So like, if, for example, if I see an E instead of an A, can you just confirm what the method is to change it?
So if you want to do a simple change in line and you feel comfortable with it, Dennis is doing these for culinary, for example. Let's say, you know, the second lesson, how to use this module. Let's say you're here, and there's probably some typos. And as I mentioned, the things that I uploaded from Arsena, I probably had some from the stuff I put in, but there's definitely some with Arsena's, and I tried to find it all. But let's say you notice a spelling lesson, a spelling error in lesson 28882 or 28822, and you come here and here's 28822. You would click on this, just collapse these. So you're going to see for this asset, there's a number of things, but where you want to go to is content. There's 2 places for content to exist, but typically the content that you see in the portal is this content. And let's say there was a spelling mistake right here. You go to edit and you correct the spelling mistake. Oh, there was a D that should be there. You hit save. And hit save up here. I try and make it a habit to do both. The first time should have done it, but now I want to save the asset. And then if you go back to the portal, and let's say that you notice this spelling mistake, if you hit refresh, after you've saved, you've done that very slight content change, you'll notice that it's been revised and fixed. So once again, what you would do, reference the asset, find it in the admin outline of the plan. Let's say it's 28823 this time. You can also come over here. There's kind of redundancy in the things, so you could edit from here, but generally it saves a click just to go and click it directly. This takes you to the lesson asset itself. There's quite a few settings and properties, so don't do anything else with those. Content in the body, you'll edit. Click on a typo or change the word you want, or add something else in. Save, go back to outline mode, because I find that's the best place to always reference these things. You need to find stuff, go back to outline mode, and then you've got your reference. So yeah, that's the process for doing quick inline fixes, Dimitri.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. I think you know, that's I'm pretty familiar with HTML and also with CMSs, so
Yeah.
this is nothing new to me. Yeah.
You know what? It's got its own idiosyncrasies, and I knew with LMSs, CMSs, and HTML, you won't have any trouble at all. Where you'll have trouble, Dimitri, is just where to find the stuff and the idiosyncratic nature of this platform being different than what you're used to. So, and in that sense, just shoot Belinda or I a quick note, because you're going to have questions like, where did I find that again? Or how do I get there again? That's really all it's going to be.
Well, thank you. I think this is very good, very clear. Just to summarize from my side, what I interpreted is number one, there's the admin section. Number two, there's the user section. And number three, there's the test banks.
Yeah.
We have to use a combination of all three.
Yeah.
And then, make sure, like for the test banks, that we are using the little car and not to accidentally erase anything. But if we need to edit, you can edit in line, and that you just have to save it and then refresh it, and then you'll get the information. Does that summarize it okay?
Yes, one quick clarification though, it's test drive, not test bank. We haven't even looked at the assessments, but I don't want you going to the test banks, Dimitri, because there's been a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm not touching the test banks.
Yeah, so it's test drive that you'll be looking for, and you're right, the test drive icon is the little card. But yeah, just to make sure there's no, so test drive as opposed to test bank. There's a whole other module, and we won't touch on that. That's for the assessments where the question banks live.
That's for another time.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, and I'll show you how that works. The only one other thing I wanted to mention, Dimitri, is that the one thing we'll need to change, not this lesson, is when Wiley does come up with, and when you purchase the access codes or what have you to access Wiley, the instructions I've got in here right now for us to access the resources, and you'll need to log in, of course, to access the Wiley books. I'm sure you did that last time. But we just need to change this and change these instructions for users once we get them from Wiley as to how those people will log in and get their access code and where they go. So this will be the one remaining piece of stuff that we need to change that that we'll need to do to complete this. Anyone who's testing for now is using the IE/CBC generic access, which I think is fair enough. We're just testing it. We're not releasing it for people. But when we do get it out there, we need to update this piece of information. That'll be the last step.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Good. Anything else, Belinda, Dimitri?
So Lawrence, for accounting, so just right now, we just you already done everything, so I don't need to do any update. So,
well, I'm going to say yes to that, Belinda, but I'm sure I've missed something, and I'm also sure that Dimitri will catch it though.
Okay, so I'll just wait for Dimitri. If Dimitri, you have something, I can update for that for this plan. Yeah. And
in the meantime, I'm going to focus on culinary arts, Dimitri. I got to go back in and do those specialty exams, and this is something that while you're doing your review, I'd prefer I need sort of blocks of 2 or 3 hours at a time, and I don't want to sort of change back to the accounting one. So maybe try, if you need any support, check with Belinda first of all, and I'm sure she'll help you. But if not, let me know. But I'm just going to focus on the culinary exams. It's just between the tags, specifications, forms, and then test drives. I just sort of need to get a contiguous block of time going on that one to get that done.
Just one question. In terms of timeline, how long, if we go through everything as one big chunk test, just through, say, the user interface, how long would that take? And also, in terms of the admin, how long do you think it would take?
Well, again, it depends. Like there's 26 test drives. It's depending on the scenario. So are you talking about for a user then, Dimitri? Like if a user comes through and assesses this, how long will it take them?
Yes.
Okay. So
And I know it's going to vary from user to user, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying in general, like
Okay.
on average.
So, and this goes back to Iona's question of when does someone complete? So there's going to be 3 distinct stopping points for someone. A user, if they come in and do the start, that's only going to take them, I'm going to say, an hour or maybe 2, depending on their language level and they want to understand it. This section, there's quite a few lessons. There's 58 lessons. Let's say, 15 minutes per lesson. So that could be, 4 lessons an hour. That could be 15 hours for them to get all the way through this. Now, if they are unsuccessful in their exams, that person is done. So let's say they've done 15 or 16 hours to unsuccessfully complete or successfully complete this. That's the first point where progress will be halted. So that might be, let's say, 2 to 3 days of effort for a person to do that. If they are successful, then they go into this section. They do this diagnostic test. It's just 10 questions. It's just 5 lessons. This will only probably take a couple of hours. That allows them to continue on to the junior enabling and technical. That will take them, it's both the enabling, there's communications, ethics and professionalism, and junior financial reporting. You're going to be a better sense than I will be on how long it takes them to complete that, Dimitri. But let's say that's another, 16 to 20 hours. That's the next stopping point. So someone's invested then probably, 2 days for the first section, another 2 days for this section. If they do complete that, and I'm sort of saying an 8-hour day, then they go to the senior, and the senior is the senior financial reporting and the management accounting. And let's say for the sake of argument, that might be another 16 hours to complete or 2 days. Then they've got another 2 days. So I don't know if that's a rash or too general an estimate, but let's say 16 to 20 hours to get to this point, they may stop there. Let's say 16 or 20 hours to get to the junior level, they may stop there. And let's say another 16 or 20 hours to do the senior level, at which point they would have done everything. And I can only say those are really rough guesstimates, Dimitri.
Yeah, so we're estimating maybe 50 hours in total, so that translates into like almost a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, we always say to people, allow, if it's a week of effort, maybe they're going to be doing it over 2 or 3 weeks because they're doing this part-time, or they're maybe moving or finding work, or it's part-time. But maybe track yourself when you go through and see. But for the most part, these lessons, they're pretty short, snappy kind of things. It's more when you get into the accounting, like how long does it take to read a Wiley section if I'm familiar with it or if I'm not familiar with it? I don't know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
if I'm a top-notch accountant, maybe seeing that stuff in the Wiley book all makes sense to me and I go through it quickly. If I've never seen it before and I call myself an accountant, entirely different scenario.
Okay, so that's just so I can get a good base. So what I'll do is I'll proceed in the method that you suggested,
Okay.
and then if there's any issues, I'll try to add them all up together, so that way I'm not going question by question, because then that'll just be too repetitious.
Yeah.
So I'll just do blocks at a time and then ask a question or questions if I have them.
And I forgot to mention this. The other thing is when you go through the test drives, just copy and paste this. But if you want to get 35% on this exam, I should have told you the format. Here's the score right here. When it says complete assessment, then that's the asset number, the 29096. And then the next is the score as a decimal. So this is 85%. So if you want to just rerun this, just put in 35% and see what happens when you're using your test drive. So when you put it in here, let's say we copy this, and you can do any scenario you want. These were only meant to essentially create scenarios that we know we want to test. But let me put in, see, I can put in 50% now. And now I run it and I get an entirely new one. So you don't have to obviously do that repetitious of redoing exams. Just fire them in here and put in the mark you want. And now remember to always refresh. And now you'll come down here and the workplace, whichever exam that was. Oh yeah, it was 50. There it is, 50%. So now I've got yet another scenario here that's popped up. Okay, and what
just one question. So remember where you were showing me in terms of the test action?
Yes.
So can you just click on there for a second?
The dashboard here again?
The test action on the top right-hand corner?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes. So 3 things it does. Let's say you've gone through and you've done a scenario and now you want to try a different scenario. The test drive is doing that automatically for you right here where it says restart. Yeah. So where it says restart plan, it's restarting your program, or you can do it manually right here and you can restart your program. This sets everything back to the default dashboard that you would come in to start your program with. So nothing has been completed.
So
and then you can, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's good. So I just wanted to confirm. So say that somebody's going through the program, and we restart the session for them. Is that the information that was there before? Is that lost completely?
Yes, we do not want to do that for any of the users.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, Belinda and Iona know that we've had on occasion. I think there was 1 or 2 people where we have to go reset something for them. But yeah, that gets a bit convoluted. But yeah, if you restart, and again, Belinda and Iona and I can go in and mimic a user. But when you're in here, Dimitri, you're just under your own account. So it's just your results that are being affected by that restarting and all the stuff you're doing.
Okay, thanks for that answer.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to switch back to culinary and keep working at that. And Belinda, I think all your questions are in. I think Dennis has put all the tags in.
That's good. Yeah.
Added content to the GAP lesson. So I'm going to go in and add triggers and specifications and exams. And hopefully by today and tomorrow and maybe on Wednesday, I'll have that done. And we'll be close there too.
That's good. Yeah, meantime, I'm gonna work on Ascend program now.
And Belinda, just for your information too, Patty Galbraith from BioTalent, she's reviewing biotechnology, and she's already pointed out in the meeting Iona and I had with her on Friday that many of the diagrams are outdated. They have new ones. So she's going to be getting back to us with content revisions. So I'll leave those to you as well if you've got time.
Okay, sure.
Excellent. Okay, you guys. That should do it. And let us know if you have any questions, Dimitri. Good. We'll leave it there then.
Yeah, in the meantime, can you just, as a reference, can you send the video, the recording to Dimitri as well? So in case if we forgot, and then, both, he can take a look.
Yeah. Now, when I stop the
Yeah.
recording, where does the URL pop up?
I think it's in your email or it's in the GoToMeeting. So if,
Okay.
yeah, if you could just send it to us. I was on mute before, but I was just saying thank you very much. This is very helpful, and yeah, we'll get cranking on it.
Okay, excellent. I'll stop the recording, find the URL, and send it to you guys.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye now.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Sounds like miso soup.